welcome everyone to the Sigma Show, episode 89. I'm your host, Sigma. Just before I let you know who is joining me this week, real quick, we'll go over what our topics will be. First up, there's a lot of news on Ubisoft. Announcement went out, or a leak went out, I should say, followed by an announcement that 3 unreleased or unannounced games were canceled. Of course, they were unreleased. We didn't even know they existed. But they were canceled. Skull and Bones, their pirate game that's been going through some trials and tribulations, has been delayed for a 6th time. So we'll just kind of discuss what we think is going on over there. I'm aware that I'm a Ubisoft employee, but I promise you, I did not see this coming. I didn't know. I didn't know what was going on. So we'll all kind of discuss it with fresh eyes, fresh perspectives. Our next topic, D&D released a message essentially threatening, we'll say, to pull licenses or like the open game license setup that they've had before that lets a lot of creators kind of use D&D rules in their derivative works, etc. But after about a week of backlash, apparently have walked it back. So we'll talk about kind of what that thought process might be, like what this means going forward, if people will continue to trust Wizards of the Coast, this, that, and the third. And finally, some disturbing reports of Rick and Morty and High on Life creator Justin Roiland being charged with domestic violence. And this, once again, bringing up this whole situation of the art and the artist and like people's ability to kind of enjoy things with like scumbaggy creatives involved with it. But here to talk to me about these topics today, back after a while, Blue Bones.
What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Blue Bones, BLUB0NES.
There he is. Also joined by Frost.
What's up, everybody? I do not have his cooler tag.
Well, you know what? That'll just have to do. Welcome, guys. I know we're usually a foursome. Ash ran into some stuff. Usually he was going to be here on this show, but had to take care of some stuff. But we'll push forward ahead with 3 of us. Should be a great conversation regardless, as we tend to always start with what we've been playing. Blue, it's been a long time since you've been around. I imagine you have millions of games under your belt.
Yeah, of course.
Backlog
is so small now; it's just ridiculous. No,
but yeah, what you been up to?
It got bigger somehow. Thanks for having me.
I'm sorry. I apologize. 1 second. Kat, why are you in this chat after I asked you 2 days ago? 2 days ago to be on this show. Where have you been, Miss Kat? I'm sorry, Blue. I just want her to answer for her crimes.
Howdy, Miss Kat.
All right, there you go, Blue.
Yeah, no, I've been playing a lot, trying to keep my head cool, and on the exact opposite of that spectrum, Overwatch 2 has been one of the one of my frequent ones. But I'm not gonna lie, as crazy as the launch was, as crazy as all these new changes are, I'm having a great time. I think it's like watching a drama series. Wow, that looked like it was a strong.
Oh, it was strong. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
I'm sorry. I'm like interrupting you. I didn't realize this tea was this hot. Oh God.
But you guys don't want to hear about Overwatch 2. But I will say Ramatra, I think he's such a dope character. His
he's out now, right?
Oh yeah. His synchronization story wise and ability wise with Genji and Zenyatta is
right,
gorgeous.
Yeah, because they're all gorgeous. Part of that whole Omnics revolution thing. Because Genji's a disciple of Zenyatta, yada yada yada.
Exactly. I'm not sure that's how he says his name, but yeah. No, I got you. I've also been playing Gunfire Reborn. I know you guys saw me post a little bit about it. That's on Game Pass. I played the hell out of that game. I've finally beat all the difficulties that's available on Game Pass, and I know that there's a DLC that's available on Steam that I've been thinking about going back into checking that out. But Gunfire Reborn was such a fun first-person shooting roguelike hero ability kind of game.
Co-op. Yeah, it's a good time.
Yeah. a lot of fun strategies, just fast paced. It was a good break from the stress of Overwatch. It was a different stress.
But still keeps you warm because you're still playing a
Exactly.
shooter. You still got
You
those
see it.
abilities.
You
Yeah.
see it. Now, what messed me up though, I'm glad you said that. What messed me up is in this game, you press B to dash, right? So
Yeah.
you gotta dodge out the way, blah blah. So then I go to Overwatch and I'm running out and I'm crouching, crouching, crouching.
See, that's why I changed my bindings to match my shooter game, like whatever else
Yeah,
is there.
yeah. So, that's always fun to give your brain that stretch. But other than that, um, for whatever reason, I restarted Animal Crossing and just be like that sometimes.
Restarted.
Yeah, yeah,
So like you demolished your old town
that's
and
correct.
killed all your ex neighbors. And...
Well, not kill is not the word I would use. I'd say I was gonna say displaced, but that just sounds like the government. Yeah,
That's almost worse, right?
yeah.
You just made them
Vicious
homeless.
kind of stuff.
No,
Wow.
they just move in different areas now. They've gentrified other wonderful neighborhoods. Um, but
Fat Hound says freed them,
yeah, right. I freed them. Yeah.
which means they were captives before.
I
But
mean,
okay,
look, man, they're not
we won't touch on
mine.
that.
Okay, that's Tom's problem. That's Mr. Nook. I just work here. Okay, sorry, my dog's being a dick. Lastly, last but not least, you know me, I like to watch stuff, especially my comedies. Southside right now is doing it for me on HBO Max. That show is brilliant.
That's describe that show. I feel like
So
I've heard of that name
it's
before.
yeah, Southside is the way it was described to me was it was Atlanta for Chicago,
Uh huh.
but not as heavy. But it's still
Okay.
it's hilarious. The I believe the creator plays the main character. His sister's in the show. His best friend in the show and in real life um, has a twin who is also writing on the show. And then they have a set of cops who in real life are married, but in the show, they're like just they butt heads. They're like oil and water. It's just so funny just seeing them bicker. So knowing that the show is a family affair and then watching how they describe their city is so funny to see. Now, on top of that, I'm not from Chicago, so I
Mhm.
knew when I was watching this, I'm not getting most of the jokes. I've been to Chicago once, so I'm like that gives me a tiny bump off of like some other folks, right? But not anything serious. So one of my best friends who lives in Chicago, I showed him some of these episodes, and I promise you, he stopped it like 4 or 5 times in the episode, like, yo, I've been in this exact situation. I know that street. Like I've felt this before. They talk exactly like that. And
Uh-huh.
it was really wonderful to see somebody connect with the piece of content so heavy. And
Right.
even though I already thought it was funny, to see that person enjoy it even more, oh my gosh, yeah. So,
Yeah,
uh,
that's cool.
yeah,
That it's hitting on that additional level of being from a specific area. So like the people from that area will, get a little bit more out of it
yeah, the
than those who are just watching
authenticity
comedy.
is
But
there.
yeah, but it's great that even if you're not from there, like you can still get into it.
100%. Yeah. It's
Yeah, that
so
sounds good.
yeah, it's a great show.
Fat Hound asking, what was that show called? I live in Chicago.
It's called Southside.
Southside.
Yeah, it was produced by Comedy Central. It's on HBO Max. And I'm a little upset that I haven't seen so much advertisement for this. I haven't seen any marketing for
Yeah, I
this.
remember the name, but yeah, like
It's,
I've not been seeing people talk about it or ads for it or anything like
I
that.
haven't seen ads. I've only seen people talk about it with word of mouth, which is pretty interesting because I've seen ads for a lot of other stuff on HBO Max. So, I'm just gonna put that there. But but yeah, I think last time you and I talked, I restarted Westworld and then I heard that HBO was pulling it.
Oh
So I'm like, I'm not doing it to
no,
myself.
boy.
And I
Yeah.
just stopped right away.
What a shame.
That's why I
Yeah.
wait, bro. I'll
Bruh.
wait till y'all are done.
Yeah, but I think
Like
that's the meat and potatoes of what I've been doing.
okay.
I'm gearing up for Monster Hunter Rise. I had it on the Switch, but I'm getting ready to restart it on the 20th when it drops on Game Pass.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna restart it again for the third time.
Yeah, right. I've been thinking about like what weapons I'm going to use this time, and of course, my first thought Insect Glaive because I'm just a weeb like that. But I think I'm going to try Sword and Shield this time. Try and keep it.
Sword and Shield is fun.
That's what I've been hearing. So, we're gonna give it a shot. We'll see what's up.
There's few weapons in that game that aren't fun. That's the thing. Like I have just completely ignored since I started really getting into Monster Hunter with World.
Yeah.
I've ignored all the bow guns, like the heavy bow gun, the light bow gun.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll give that a shot, but I don't know. That feels too third person shootery, and like the thing I love about Monster Hunter is how good of like an action combat game it is. Like I don't want to be that out of the action because even the bow, like the bow and arrow, feels like you're in the thick of it. Like you get to like dash all over the place, and like it's really fun.
Most definitely, yeah, I see that. I've heard lots of enjoyment from the bow guns, but that might be more on the technical level. Like people are saying, I do so much damage as a bow gun, not like I had so much fun moving around and the play style as the bow gun. So,
but I don't know that the switch skill stuff, like that adds so much to every single weapon. So like it might feel a little different now with that stuff added in because I know that there's some like crazy looking moves that the bow guns have because of the switch skill stuff. I'm like my hesitation with jumping back in for the third time is because the second time I had to play through the base game was to get to the Sunbreak content. Yeah. And what Sunbreak adds is literally just more of the stuff you like. Like it adds more switch skills. It adds the ability to preset different loadouts of switch skills. So you can switch between the switch skills you have, which you already have more of them. You can switch between that preset to an entirely different preset in the middle of battle. So it's just switch skills up the wazoo, essentially. And to have that taken away by going back to the base game feels like, all right, so now I'm playing a slightly slower version of this game that sped it up to like 11. But like at this point, like, because I didn't get to play those first two run-throughs with like the open party crew, like most of like my actual like online friends and whatnot. So with it coming to Game Pass, I know a lot of these guys are going to be jumping back in. That's enough motivation. I feel like, all right, I'll jump back in and get through it the third time.
We got to make a channel for that in the open party Discord too.
Oh yeah, we will definitely do that. And I think the Sunbreak content is supposed to come out in the spring on Game Pass. If not Game Pass, at the very least it'll launch on consoles like the base game did. But yeah, they're starting with the base game, and then the expansion comes a little later.
Hey, good to hear. That's gonna be dope. Yeah, that's basically what I got. Yeah, I saw a musical. Yeah, if y'all are interested, Hades Town.
I am interested.
Yeah, I watched Hades Town. Yeah, down at the Fox Theater here in Atlanta. Story about it was interesting. Unfortunately, it was that day that like all the planes got grounded, so it was mostly understudies. Yeah, wild, bro.
I mean, they did they handle business, or was it like you could tell?
They got paid.
You could tell this was the backup.
They got paid. No, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. It was an interesting story, and I'm not gonna go too far into it, but it's Hades, Persephone. It was talking about their love and Orpheus and Eurydice and their love, and how there was a tragedy that happened in between the four of them. It was also set in like a New Orleans kind of fantasy world. So, yeah, you had like Mardi Gras style music talking about the road to hell and the train to hell and blah blah blah. And it was interesting. It was interesting.
Okay.
I learned a lot. And I pulled some of the story elements into my D&D campaigns that I'm putting together. Nice. I want to talk about D&D later. That's why I didn't even bring it up.
Yeah, that is on the menu for sure.
We'll talk about that.
Right, good stuff.
Yeah.
Frost, anything you are eager to share with the group?
Let's see what I got here. First off, somebody mentioned your Twitch chat's in slow mode.
It's in slow mode.
Yeah, it's an option that limits everybody's chat to 30-second intervals.
How did that happen? Okay, I do see that is.
I just took it off. I got you.
Freed y'all.
And thank you. You're free now.
As far as what I've been doing, I've been trying out a bunch of different games. As I was crying earlier, I don't have that like level of fire, that addiction that comes through competitive games. So I've been trying everything. Right, a little Overwatch 2, good game. A little Fortnite, confusing game. Played some Siege yesterday. That was fun. I'm just trying to look for that one that like grabs me. Maybe Street Fighter comes through. I don't know. So
I'm waiting on that one.
Right. I've kind of cut back. Been watching more movies. Been watching more shows. I watched The Menu. What the whiteness was that? That was like the strangest thing I ever seen. And as somebody who was cooking for so long, no one's gonna understand this, but I hate this movie because it would deny that Anthony Bourdain existed, right? Who was a man who fought for the culture of the people, fought for the poor, fought for like peasant dishes, pauper foods as they're called. This movie cannot exist, but that almost adds to the thriller aspect. Where it's like, imagine a world where Anthony Bourdain doesn't exist, and I'm like, all right, maybe I gaslit myself into liking it. Maybe I redeemed it for you, right? But strange movie overall. And then I've just been taking it easy watching. I guess I just filler shows where it's not meant to be impactful or anything, but watching like cooking shows, reality things, Forged in Fire. That's how I'm starting the year. Just a bunch of this. Back in the day, I'd come home from school, watch whatever was on Discovery. Like it was a good time. Yeah, pretty low, slow burn for me right now.
Oh, does that wrap it up for you?
Yeah, that's it.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah.
Hey, real quick, did y'all watch that Miss Cleo documentary on HBO Max?
No, I forgot. I saw the trailer for that and was like, I really want to see that, but then it left my memory. Thank you for bringing that back up. Did you watch it?
Yes. As a Jamaican dude growing up, I was like, yo, this woman is a scammer. She's using my culture. Blah, 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 blah. Yo, watch it. I'm on a completely different train now. Completely different train.
Like, how weird is the whole Miss Cleo thing? Like, why do we all know Miss Cleo? Why are we fascinated with that?
Because it was right on the cusp of the information age, like right before things could really spread properly, right? So everything was word of mouth, and she was such a charismatic scandal that all kinds of stories get out. Yo, right before, I'm not gonna tell y'all what happened in there, but like I could have sworn she was in jail for the longest time. I could have sworn that, but. I learned a lot. Let's put it that way.
No,
I
definitely want to
get Martha Stewart.
Man.
Lampy in the chat is asking who's Miss Cleo. So that it may not be an international thing.
That's true.
But if you've never heard of Miss Cleo, in America at least, Miss Cleo was a psychic, a TV psychic. You would see infomercials where she would essentially tell you to call her, and then she'd have like people, like examples of people calling her and her giving them psychic advice and being wowed by her. And I don't know why, but she was prolific. Everyone knows Miss Cleo.
It's crazy.
Have any of you guys tried to call Miss Cleo? Because I have.
Nah, brother. No, really.
You tried to call?
When I was younger, I was
upset. When I was young.
I was upset because she was trying to talk like my aunties, and she was making money. I was mad. So I'm calling in, and there's some other lady. I said, I'm looking for Miss Cleo. They said, Miss Cleo's busy right now, but I just clicked. Thank God. Let me tell you that much.
Because they be man, they charge you by the minute for those calls.
Just watch the documentary. I know that's not what we're here for, but like that's a good
one. No, thank you for bringing that up, because I definitely want to see that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's who Miss Cleo is.
But yeah, have that these days, bro. You can't have a Miss Cleo like in the internet age. We can't have a Nilly Vanilli like that doesn't happen anymore.
Well, it's sanctioned now, really. It's like... but yeah, if that wraps things up for you, Frost, I'll be brief. I saw Puss in Boots: The Last Wish last night.
Ooh,
what a fantastic movie!
For real?
Really?
Oh my god!
Like I was hearing people like buzzing about it, but I was not prepared for how good of a story that was, how good the animation was. Like the entire scenario that they have this side Shrek character go through was so engaging. Like not a minute of that movie's runtime is wasted, and they go through so much. Like they get, and like there's nothing that's slow either. Like even the more kind of downbeat portions where characters are like talking to each other and revealing important information about one another, they're super interesting because they're giving you like very, very tangible nuggets of information that explain why those characters are behaving the way they're behaving, like right before you're getting that information or right after you get that information, right? Yeah. They have multiple villains, all of which are compelling, all of which have different motivations for what they're doing, but none of them are being excused for what they're doing. It's not the situation that we come into nowadays that I think some people have been tired of, where it's like, oh, this villain is actually a good guy in a different light. It's more this villain this villain is a bad person.
I miss
And the more you
those.
learn about that person, you learn more and more about, oh, this is just a bad person. Like there's not another
I
side to
love
this
that.
guy.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I'm tired of the retribution. I miss those old school Disney villains where it's just like this is a bad dude and there's no redeeming them. They're just wicked.
Yeah, like
Did you watch the Puss in Boots movies prior? Like, do I need
no,
to?
I didn't. Yeah,
They're
that's the
pretty
thing.
well
Like
known.
I was wondering if I'd be a little lost because apparently this is like supposed to be the last one
Yeah.
of those series. But honestly, you don't need to have any prior knowledge of either Puss in Boots or Shrek to enjoy anything out of this movie.
Oh yeah. Puss in
Like
Boots
it's
got
so
nothing to do with
it's
Shrek
so
no more.
well done. It's so self-contained. All the characters who show up are given not like big exposition dumps, but very decent introductions so that you get their deal and you get why they're involved and you get what their motivations are like that. They don't waste any time bogging down any of the story beats with the exposition, but it's all there. All that information is there. Like it's so well crafted. And on top of all of the great writing and story pacing and whatnot, the animation is fire. Like they borrow a little bit from that Into the Spider-Verse style. Like they don't wholesale copy it,
Yeah.
but you can see the influence. Like it doesn't look like how the old Shreks looked. It's a lot more vibrant. When they get into like real fast-paced action, which is very anime inspired, mind you. Like these folks have been doing their research. Like it looks like something you've seen in an anime movie. But like when the action starts, you can see the frames sort of cut. So like that looks like Into the Spider-Verse, like how that's kind of
Right.
choppy in its movement.
Gotcha.
But it's because of how visceral the action is. Like I'm wondering if it would be harder to follow if they didn't actually drop the frames so that you're seeing it more clearly. Like it's hard to explain unless you go see it because like the whole movie isn't like that.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just when the action picks up, it goes into this super stylistic mode. And like it's so well done. Like I can't rave about this movie enough.
Okay.
Like it is so like it is far and beyond past my expectations. Like it is the best movie I've
God
seen in like a
dang.
really long time.
So
Like
I-
probably since Everything Everywhere All at Once, I haven't been that hyped coming out of the theater.
Nice.
That's crazy.
And my son sat there next to me and watched it. He was fully engaged the whole time.
Yeah.
Something I've not really seen in a while. Like he loved it too. So like adults, kids, like go see that movie.
That's what's
You
up.
won't be hearing about it, Lampy, because Nick won't let Darren talk about Puss in Boots for some reason. He vetoed.
Well, Nick will have to hear about it now.
Got to know. We're all gonna go watch it together.
But yeah, outside of that, I have been watching a thing, but I can't talk about it because I'm gonna get to write a TV review for a change.
Nice.
So keep your eyes out for that. That should be fun. But games wise, I just reviewed a game called Vengeful Guardian Moonrider. The 3MR is up on the Escapist site. But essentially, it's a big giant homage to like 90s action platformers. My touchstones were like the Strider games on Sega and the Mega Man X games or Mega Man games in general because it borrows a lot of trappings from like the Robot Masters and getting to select which direction you go into. But apparently, it's a much closer analog to a entirely different Sega Master System action platformer that I've just never heard of. But like these guys at Joy Masher, like they have a habit of just trying to recreate that old school style. And like for the people who are super into that, like I get it. Like they want to relive those glory days of like 16-bit graphics and 16-bit sound design and stuff like that. And like they nail all those points. It's just I grew up in that era, and I like when things evolve. Like you have the capability to kind of take this further. I want to see where it goes as opposed to constantly looking back. Like it's fine for what it is, but it's definitely a game of that era, even though it was made today. And you either love that or you take it for what it is. So like there's nothing bad about it. It does exactly what it sets out to do. But like if you're looking for like, oh, this is my next big action platformer, and you're like coming off of something more modern, this probably won't scratch that itch. It's got great music though.
Hey, there you go.
The music they didn't keep that in the old school era, right? They didn't use just the tools of the old school to do the music. Like they just went like, all right, we'll put actual sound in the soundtrack, and like it's really really good. So definite vibes there. But I think that wraps things up for me mostly, which means we can get into our first topic, which is about Ubisoft. So I have no idea what unannounced games were canceled. So like I don't have that information. And if I did have the information, I probably couldn't share it. I'd probably get in a lot of trouble. So I mean, I don't know if there's any worth to speculating about what those games might have been. The more important part is that 3 teams who are working on stuff essentially just don't have a project anymore, which really sucks.
So it's just strange to the it's odd to the news cycle, because like back in the day you'd hear about games that were gonna come out in like in January. You hear about the next Assassin's Creed coming out in December or whatever, and now it's like the next one comes out in 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. Now we're getting to the point where we're reporting on games that aren't even gonna come out at all. Like they never made it out of that. We're just like I'm expecting to hear it. Todd Howard has thought of an idea for a game. Here's what he's thinking. Like that's
probably
what we're
not
reporting.
Yeah, it's probably not that far off.
Yeah.
I mean, there's definitely articles where it's just like, oh, these 2 people are talking about a game, and you're just like, okay, yeah,
No, you're right.
that makes sense. They can talk. They're people. I hear what you're saying. This is kind of, I think this is less of a, hey guys, Ubisoft's not making your favorite games anymore, and it's more like, what's going on at Ubisoft? Why we're cutting this budget, or while we're cutting all these games? I think it's more of like, what's happening in the background of Ubisoft. This is like a warning light, I mean, a red flag, if you will.
Somebody said my Slack is making them jump. I don't even hear any messages, so maybe I'm just immune to it. I'll go ahead and close that window. Sorry. But yeah, like from the couple of articles I read, like the speculation seems to point to like financials, right? The year didn't sell, like games that were released this year didn't sell as well as they'd hoped. And honestly, Ubisoft didn't have a ton of big releases this year either. Like their last big game this year was, well, no, because Far Cry 6 came out last year, right?
Sparks of Hope.
Was there? Well, yeah, that's the thing. Sparks of Hope reviewed amazingly well, but apparently it's not selling. It's a full $60 game on the Switch, and it's like people who have played it seem to like it very much, but like it's not capturing
The masses,
like fresh buyers or whatnot. I'm curious because I don't actually know how well the last game sold. Because colloquially, I'm just getting the information that folks bought it on a sale. Like like folks didn't decide to jump into the first game until it was on sale at some point. So it's like, oh, they waited and then they played it and then they liked it. But now that the new one came out and that's full price, they're not just hopping on it. They're probably going to wait for another sale. That seems to be the situation there.
That's fair. I don't know. See, I'm always skeptical about anything like underperformance. Is that relative to the last game, as you said? Is this forecasted? And you guys were like, "Hey, Mr. CEO, I'm gonna make you $2 million. Pat me on the head," and it just only made $1 million, right? It's just like, I don't know. In the modern times, I'm very wary of the problems of the C-suite being my problems, which like rarely are. Like anytime, what do you call it? Friggin' new Game of Thrones, was it something about the dragon?
House of Dragons.
So bad about names. House of the Dragons underperforming. It's like it's a good show, but nobody wants good anymore, which is kind of I don't believe in that. Game of Thrones made me get HBO for the first time, right? Wouldn't have done the same thing for this dragon show, and that's what CEOs cringe about. Where it's like,
right,
I need you to hot platforms. That's the kind of love I need for the show. It doesn't matter if everybody who has that platform tunes in. If they're not getting new people in, that's a dud.
Yeah, it's still a failure. Yeah,
and I'm like, brother, y'all are needy.
Yeah, but it's like I fully agree. Like, yeah, the need for a corporation to grow constantly and for it to never ever level out or have a lull period, that's not necessarily our problem. Like, that's not a thing that really affects the consumer in a real way, other than the fact that as fans of certain things, that it changes the way those corporations are going to start trying to sell to us, right? Because if they're saying like, oh, so the critics really like Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hopes, the game was really good, but nobody bought it. That means, in terms of the numbers, that means they didn't like it. That means we won't make another one, and that would be unfortunate because it's a good series. Like, I honestly feel like the stuff that they've been doing in that game has been moving the turn-based tactics genre forward. Like, they're making it a lot more dynamic. I would like to see other attempts at that, even if it doesn't come from them. Other people just taking what they've done and expanding on top of it, because like it's just good innovation in that genre. But like if it doesn't get like the love or the monetary love that it maybe rightfully deserves, who knows? It just it ripples throughout the industry of people saying like the folks don't like this. Like, so why would we make one of these when that sold that bad? Like, you pitch that, even if you have a great idea for it, it's like, oh, this is like that Mario Rabbids game. Those execs are going to go look at how it's sold and be like, oh, nobody likes that. Don't do it. So, like, it's going to stifle everything surrounding it, it feels like.
Yeah.
They're also still trying to finish Assassin's Creed, I imagine.
Well, I mean, yeah, that wasn't one of the unannounced things getting canceled for sure.
No, I mean the consumer. Like, how are you gonna buy a new game when you're still trying to beat this
Oh.
other game you got?
Like, oh, so you're saying oversaturation may have played
Yeah,
a part.
ironically, yeah, I think this like forever content, battle pass, season passes. Why am I gonna jump to another game? I'm still trying to finish the first one. Yeah.
I feel that. There's a lot of focus on live services nowadays. I think one of the biggest concerns for me, it doesn't come from the perspective of a consumer, but I guess kind of like a fellow working man, because I'm kind of concerned about the people getting when these projects are cut, are these people losing their jobs? There's a lot of project-based contracts that are out there. So are these people losing their jobs and then they got to scrap for another job afterwards because of the same issue that you guys were, the financial growth being the qualifier to continue. That's the scary part for me. I'm worried about these folks just being a victim of the system, if you will.
And that's a really good point. From what I know about the worker situation, is Ubisoft, generally speaking, is very anti-layoffs. Like, they don't really do like mass layoffs all that often. Like, they currently have 20,000 people on staff. It's a lot of a lot of employees.
Yeah.
But what's probably going to happen is they're going to try to move those people onto other projects. Like, they have a lot of studios that are all helping work on a couple games. They're kind of like Activision in that way. But there are going to be some people who probably don't have like a good fit. And what Ubisoft tends to do, apparently, is kind of wait for them to find other work. Like, they, rather than, firing them outright, they kind of won't give them anything to do, which is kind of sucky in a different way. And like what they call that is like natural attrition.
Oh,
I think is the term for it.
Which is war.
I've been natural attritioned a few times.
Yeah, like that actually happened to me in my previous like full-time job. It's like they were like, oh, we don't have anything for you. You could do this job over here that we know you have zero interest in and said so from the very beginning, but that's your only option. So it's like, I guess my other option is to quit.
It's so funny you mentioned that because that literally happened to me like last week. Thank God I got a new job now. You know what I'm saying? Whoop whoop. But
congrats.
That literally happened to me like last week. My job was
right.
on some BS time.
So like it's not great. Like, it's kind of one step to the side of just straight up layoffs.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, the hope is they find enough spaces for that staff in other projects.
Oh yeah.
And that they can release some of those projects, because the other half of this news is that Skull and Bones, their long announced pirate game, has been delayed again. This is the 6th delay for the particular title. And like the main thing about this title is that every time it is shown off, it's kind of met with a lot of apathy, I guess, or at the very least criticism, because like it's not living up to this idea that a lot of people have for what this game is going to be. Like, it seems like the memo Ubisoft took for, oh, we love the ship combat in Assassin's Creed, was to make a ship combat game, which isn't to say like that makes sense, because that's what people were saying. It was like, oh, the ship combat in Assassin's Creed game is dope. So they just took that, literally that. It was like, okay, we'll make that a whole game. And folks were like, oh wait, but I like the Assassin's Creed part too. And like they haven't been able to kind of make their way back to that full picture just yet. And like, I don't know if it's because it's like a sunken cost fallacy. Like they've already done so much work in one direction, it would take too long to turn it around. But like, I don't know. They had a big reveal for this last year, like just a couple of months ago, really. And they gave it a new release date, and like they showed cinematics and they showed some gameplay and a bunch of ship customization and stuff. And once again, they're like, we gotta take more time with this. So I'm curious, what do you guys think the mindset could be of this dev team? Like, are they finally just gonna give it the time it needs to turn it into an actual Assassin's Creed pirate game, or is it like the game is just not coming together? Like what's your speculation on this?
Oh man. You know what? This is really I feel like this is shallow, and I feel bad for this, but I have not had faith in a Assassin's Creed game in a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And this is I haven't played Odyssey, so I have to be fair. I haven't played Odyssey, and that's supposed to be very, very good, right? But 2 felt revolutionary at the time, Assassin's Creed 2. But then after that, all the changes that they were making and the strives for basically just different set pieces started to feel corny for me. So I'm not super excited about what they're going to put out next. I don't see anything really blowing my mind. The initial story of the future meet in the past was cool, but it feels like we've gone away from that so far. And maybe again, I haven't played Odyssey. Maybe they wrapped that back in and I just missed it. But
so you're a fan of the Animus and stuff. Like you liked the juxtaposition of
the connection to the future.
Yeah, like the Desmond story alongside the other assassin story. Because they have toned that down a bit, but I feel like people were asking them to, because after Desmond was gone, they kind of lost the thread a little bit.
That's because Desolate quit. He said, "I'm only making 3 of these," and then it was done. They said, "All right, fine, you can do whatever you want now. By the way, you're fired."
Yeah. So
like you, Blue, after the mainline ones, like after the numbered ones, I kind of fell off. Like the last one I played was
is it Origins?
Black Flag. Because no, I haven't touched any of the RPG ones. I've not played any of the big RPG ones, and it's because they feel daunting. Like I was interested in them, but it's like that's so much more game than I feel compelled to play right now. So that's kind of why I'm super excited for Mirage, which they announced is basically going back to that more linear single player type thing, and not the big open world RPG. Like I feel like that could bring back a lot of fans actually. Not to say that fans have left the Assassin's Creed series, because it's still like their top seller. Like there's still a big market for Assassin's Creed as it is now. But like the camp has been split in half, and they're now that's why they announced 5 of those joints, because they're freaking appealing to both sides now. They're like, okay, we'll make a single player, more stealth action one for you guys, and then we'll make a big open world action one for you guys, and then we'll make a mobile one for China, and
They always have the fun ones.
But yeah,
As far
no, go ahead. I'm
for
sorry.
this thing, I was just thinking they're waiting for the right pirate time. Pirate's not a theme you can just whip out all the time. It really almost comes down to luck.
Unless you're Oda.
No, I'm almost tying that into it. Where it's pirates, it's vampires, it's gladiators, and you can't just always crack these out. Like you gotta cycle them out. We're overdue for a gladiator theme one, I'm thinking. But
Overwatch on gladiators right now.
see, there you go. You got them right now. I almost feel like they're waiting for a new Pirates of the Caribbean movie, One Piece to finish something. It's just really not the time to be popping out a pirate game. You can't just out of nowhere, like, look at that. We buckling and swashing. And it's like, what? What do you mean, dude?
I mean, Sea of Thieves came out in like a pirate.
But it didn't
mode.
do well. It didn't do well
but
at the
it's
start.
Sea of Thieves. Like, not saying that people don't play the game, but it's very niched. Like, you're not gonna just fall.
Well, it definitely flies under the radar, but I would hesitate to call it niche, because like it has like a really big player base. Like there's a lot of people who like and this is weird to think about, but there's a lot of people whose game, like this is the game they log into and play all the time, is Sea of Thieves. Like it's like
I guess.
what?
And this is me just being tolerant, I guess.
But yeah, like I agree. Like I feel like I don't see how that game is hooking people that strongly.
Yeah.
But like, you know, to each their own, do you.
Yeah,
Like like if I was gonna get hooked in a pirate experience, it would have to be something of the look and feel of a Skull and Bones, except I don't want that either.
See, Skull and Bones looks a little depressing to me. I don't know why.
Well,
it's just
yeah, like
really too realistic. It's not going to age well. Sea of Thieves is stylized, you know. So
that's true.
It's a lot.
The thing is, I
easier
hate the
to
style
do.
though. Like I like the
Yeah,
ship,
that's
I like the water. I hate the way the characters models look and
First person.
well, I mean, but you're looking at people,
Fair.
like you're looking at characters and stuff. I don't like their look.
That's fair.
It feels
feels like
what's Ooh. Sorry. What's the not the Lego characters, but what's the other Playmobil?
Man,
my
that's-
the
God.
Mega Blocks and the Playmobil.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's
you root for that.
that's what I feel like. Like it looks like the Playmobil version of a pirate game.
You root for that.
Big soft low poly, almost look like a Funko Pop. Yeah,
Oh
Right.
my gosh.
I'm just not a fan.
that's fair. But like, there's not too many pirate games that I'm about. It is just one of those aesthetics. I think that it ebbs and flows, where it really is just you know, because there's a lot of games that are similar to Sea of Thieves. This like sort of naval
Yeah.
exploration, naval battles, but now we're very specifically making it about pirates. And that just comes with a theme, and Ubisoft is here like, well, no one else is making anything. I don't want to be the first, because I can't afford to have a Sea of Thieves where this game is dead in the water, no pun intended, and then it just resurfaces.
Yeah, and I think that's part of the struggle with them. Like I'm willing to bet, again, I do not know, but I'm willing to bet those 3 unannounced, unknown games were probably live service games. Because like Ubisoft
They
they have Siege, which is like a really big live service game.
Yep.
But then like after that, they're like, let's make everything live service. They have For Honor, which is a really good game that has a dedicated fan base, but I don't think it's a big hit, right? I don't think there's a ton of people still on For Honor. They want the Vision to be a big live service thing. Like I'm not sure how well that's doing. What else? Like they got stuff still in. They had freaking Hyperscape.
I was about to say they had
big live
the
service battle royale that had to
Yeah.
close its servers
Bruh.
because they were so late to the party. And that game was very polished. Like they spent a lot of money to put that thing out.
You think it was really polished?
I mean, it was big budget. Like it wasn't like
Okay.
I'm trying to think of like a less polished battle royale that came. I mean,
Rumbleverse.
That ain't no BR.
well, I mean,
It
again,
felt like
that's
Rumbleverse.
style. That's style.
Shooter.
That's the style that they
BR.
chose. But
They
Sure.
They got one too many shooters already. Here, I think they got to do the Riot Games thing where they kind of dip into different genres completely. Even Blizzard does that a little bit as well. Where like I got into Hearthstone, didn't really care for WoW, didn't care for any of that stuff, and that kind of put me back into WoW. But they don't compete with themselves, you know. I feel like
There's a
Ubisoft.
lot of synergy across the
They,
board.
Yeah,
they want
like
to, like
the Division,
double,
Ghost
triple-
Recon,
oh,
like
God, yeah,
it's so similar.
I love their shooters.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think that's another one. Yeah, Ghost Recon was another open world live service thing that they were trying to sell people on, and like, yeah, I think it's oversaturation within their own portfolio, even because the market itself is filled with other people trying to make their own big live service game. Because like those are the behemoths in the room that are kind of sucking up all the air, like Apex Legends, Call of Duty Warzone, Fortnite, of course. Like they have so much market share. Like someone's like, oh, can I get a little piece? But like the amount of money you got to spend to attempt to get a piece is clearly detrimental.
Because it's only 24 hours in the day. You know what I'm saying?
Right? Yeah.
Like that's the
Only doing
crazy
so
thing
much.
that people you're fighting for time, people's attention and time. And if everybody's tired one day, it don't matter. You know what I'm saying? Like you're just not gonna get paid. Like that's the whole thing. You got to keep people thinking about it. It's a whole psychological thing that's not what the show's on. But you know what I mean?
No, it's a
just
rough
crazy.
thing to. like attention is probably the number one commodity of today's companies, right? Like they
100%,
need your
bro.
attention. Advertisers want you to pay attention. Video game people need you to like TV makers need you to sit down and watch their show. Like get out and go to a movie theater. Like pay attention. So much attention. TikTok steals it all.
Bro, I was just about to say that. So check it out, right? Imagine you got like an empty jar, right? And that's all your attention, right? And you put some rocks in it and you're like, okay, that's my Netflix time, that's my gaming, this is my work, this is my sleep. And then here comes a bag of sand called TikTok that just fills in everything in between.
Yep.
Hold up, TikTok and then Marvel Snap as well.
Okay.
Slightly bigger grains of sand, but they in there.
Man, I'm just saying.
No, that is the
And it's free, technically.
that is an apt.
But that's why I like the
analogy.
brass on From Software, because let's say you still got that jar, that whole analogy, but you're like, Elden Ring's not going to last forever. It's not this intimidating sand that's just going to hover forever. It's just like, all right, for right now, I'm not putting nothing in there. I'm making time for this. Maybe knock out a couple of work rocks, little Elden Ring in there, just cram that in as much as it can, because it's not forever. I'm hoping, I think a lot of the entertainment industry just goes into overdoing something, overcorrecting something, and then it's just gonna forever try and balance itself out. Maybe this is Ubisoft prematurely being like, all right, we're not gonna do this live service stuff. I think people just want games that end now. That's like fingers crossed. Who knows where that goes?
Maybe, yeah.
The rumor was that Assassin's Creed Infinite was gonna be a live service, but now it's more like
yeah.
a launcher kind of thing. It's more of a hub to get your games than
Yeah, I think
constant something happening.
Yeah, I don't know which was first, because I don't think Ubisoft has specifically said whether or not it was a live service game or not. But when they announced it, I think it was announced as a launcher. But I do know there was a ton of speculation about it being a live service thing before that actual announcement.
Right. Oh god.
But even as a launcher, like, what's the difference, right? Because like if all your Assassin's Creed games launch out of that thing, then all the DLC launches out of that thing. Whatever this future likely multiplayer thing that comes, like if they bring back the multiplayer from Assassin's Creed 2 Brotherhood, that'll probably launch out of that thing and have cosmetics and season passes and whatnot. So like
stupid.
They're just
for your Assassin's.
consolidating it all into one thing, but like it's not going to be that different. But like this is like a big gamble, because that is their number one top franchise, right? There's nothing in their portfolio that has the market share, the name recognition as high as Assassin's Creed. Tom Clancy, I think, is right after.
I'm just about to say, I don't know, it's a little close, but
but the thing is, yeah, like Assassin's Creed is like their baby. So if it doesn't work with that, I think that's when you'll see them basically do a whole culture shift, where it's like, all right, we're not cut out for live service. Let's pivot elsewhere, and who knows where that'll be.
The Raven Rabbits.
I mean, this might have also just been like news that normally doesn't come out, but it's almost, this is kind of how games are developed. Like Overwatch was, the team that made Overwatch was up here, it was called, I think it was Team 6. There were like 6 teams that were trying to make different projects, and this was the only one that actually panned out. So 3 teams trying to make a game, none of them panned out. Maybe it's just normally it's news that you normally wouldn't have heard about. It's kind of like
like it was a leak, so like they probably wouldn't have announced it in
go.
that way. It was like, oh yeah, this thing that we didn't tell you about got canceled. Like who would have said that?
Exactly.
No one.
It's
But
like,
yeah, someone heard something that they shouldn't have.
like we live in safer times, but the news is just shows you more violence. That kind of stuff. This is kind of how the gaming industry works. We just weren't supposed to hear about this, so I'm not too concerned, but I also used to dabble in penny stocks and stock market stuff. It's all about perception. If this looks weak, maybe somebody panics and runs away with their money. Maybe not. We'll see.
That's true. But yeah, any final thoughts on this before we move on to the D&D topic?
Oh man, no, let's get moving. I think we beat this one.
Fair enough. So yeah, let's talk D&D. Wizards of the Coast and their whole open game license thing. Like both you guys, Blue especially, I think, are much bigger D&D nerds than I am. So when you guys first heard the news, like before the turnaround, like what was your perception as to kind of what was going to happen? Like what was your gut reaction to them saying no more fun with our rules anymore?
Honestly, I kind of saw it coming. It was a matter of time. D&D's on the rise. It's popular. It's becoming more popular, and especially when they had an open license. And I'm I'm learning about people who are professional DMs. I'm seeing this D&D movie coming out. I'm seeing Critical Role starting to blow up because they did a Netflix show, and they're I'm not even going to talk about them. But anyway,
Oh, Amazon Prime show.
oh, exactly. Sorry, it was Amazon Prime. Um, so it's just like I knew that they were going to start clamping down on the rules. A lot of DMs knew this stuff too because uh, they all want a piece of the pie. They only had like a tiny bit of actual copyright, which is like a couple of the monsters and stuff like that. But you have games that are 100% based on these um, the original rules, like
Hmm.
Solasta. Those one of the games I was talking about for a long time on Game Pass. That is virtually D&D 5e just automated, and it's a really good clone of it. But and it's funny in the credits they say, this is all open license, open game license from Wizard of the Coast. Da, da, da. So the fact that everyone is saying, "Hey, look, it's free, it's free, it's free. We can use it, we can use it, we can use it, and we can do these great things." I knew that Wizard of the Coast wasn't going to just sit down for the longest time and not try to get a piece of the action.
So my question is, where did OGL come from? Like that came from Wizards of the Coast, right?
Yeah, and the whole goal was to get it to more people so people would buy the rule books and they would it was a um I guess in hindsight a flawed marketing plan. Yeah, and now very 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 much later they're trying to rescind it, and after people have built all kinds of businesses and campaigns and um just drum me dropped a whole paragraph. I'm gonna check that out in a bit, but yeah, it's just like there's a lot of things that people have built on top of this, and they're trying to pull it now. So it saw it coming. The greed of man. Yeah.
Lampy in the chat says, "Here's a fun fact for you. A lot of lawyers have been looking at the D&D thing since it got public attention. They are all saying that the OGL is pointless as they can't claim copyright on the rules, as you can't claim copyright on a system. It's expressly excluded from copyright law." So, I mean, but is that what the OGL was? They're saying like, oh, our rule set for D&D is open to all, or was it like the terminology and like because like you said they copyrighted like some monsters and
Yeah, I think that
like the
was one of
uh-huh.
the biggest things. So I hear what Lampy's saying about the system, and you can't really tell people they can't play a game, but at the same time, they had content that was part of this open game license. That,
Hmm.
for example, the monsters and how they look and how I can't even say how they act because that's all up for interpretation, right? But at least the looks and the names is what they were really trying to hold on to. I think Eye of the Beholder, like I said, was one of the most popular ones that they really kept in their pocket that you weren't allowed to use if you were trying to make money off of a role playing game, tabletop role playing game campaign. I wouldn't even say D&D because there's so much based on there. So yeah.
Like I'm kind of a novice in terms of like the rules like what like what's so significant about D&D's rules versus like any other tabletop RPG's rules? Like what like are there big differences? Like is there a reason why D&D is so widely known? Were they the first? Are they the best? Like I don't know.
I mean, you get all the satanic panic, like you kind of all become the most known. But it's just you just got to look at it the way like Epic Games, where they will license out their engine for you. That's pretty much what they're saying. Is like we're doing all the hard work for you. We're not making anything off of it by a license. That's kind of
Uh-huh.
what they're trying to do. I almost wonder did they have a change in some like a higher up because there was a lot of money to be made, and that's when, as you said, the greed of man. How do we? They go. It goes from we're making money. How do we make more money? Right, is when it starts to get a little scummy. I figured they would do something like try and popularize different monsters, like the Beholder. If you want to use that, you got to pay some pretty good money to include that.
Yep.
Instead of trying to be, you know, add some quality, add something that's actually worth investing and getting hyped about. They're just trying to rescind an open license that they've always had. It was mostly like as a show of goodwill because they wanted everybody to play it, and didn't want to be like, oh, if you can't afford the game, you cannot by law draw our stuff on in your own books and write our own rules and all that stuff. Like, no, they went from, it's almost like virtual gentrification. Everything that comes from the culture of D&D comes from everybody grouping around this free licensed home brewing aspect. That is the culture of D&D, and now they're trying to make money off of it, and they're trying to get rid of it.
Yeah.
So it's like somebody
They're
higher
ripping
up is
out the
going,
heart
D&D is
of
great. I just don't like the poor people.
Yeah, exactly.
So-
exactly.
So here's my question, because the poor people, as you put it, I'm assuming are just like the regular players, right?
You and I.
Yep.
Like,
I'm calling you poor.
no, should this have gone through? Because they have, like, you know, kind of walked it back some. We'll get into that a bit. But should this have gone through, and like apparently they're like, okay, you can't monetize your games or whatever without our express written consent or without paying us a fee or whatever, would that have had any effect over just your home games? Because if you're not trying to get paid off of using,
Right.
you know, your characters and telling the story of your D&D campaign in another medium, and, you know, like, that would be completely unaffected, I would assume, right? Just the regular home game.
You'd hope so, right?
Uh-huh.
But check this out, right? You're not trying to make money. You and your friends record a couple clips. You put it on TikTok. That was funny. You get stupid popular, and now Wizards of the Coast at your door talking about, we want some of the attention you get because you used our stuff.
I think the internet really.
Is there money to be made from that, though?
Oh,
They
for
said
sure.
I said attention. That's the thing. Look at the corn dude, the corn boy. He was talking about corn. There was money to be made on a dude looking at corn.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you can make money off of maybe just an audio clip from TikTok. You could get attention that they're gonna want.
It's also
I mean,
just,
sure, but like
it wouldn't have got popular. Roll20 played a huge role, you know, because it's just like any other board game. You need people, you need to be there. But now you can do all this virtual stuff, and the engine is set up on all their D&D stuff.
Yep.
So now they're trying to, the way they would want to do it is like, all right, we're going to charge Roll20 for this, then Roll20 is going to charge the rest of us, and
Then no one's gonna
it
play
just all falls apart. They're
on
trying
that.
to get their hands in the culture, but part of the culture is it was free. Wizards of the Coast for Magic the Gathering have like a very similar license in that, like, if you ain't got the card, certain tournaments you can just sort of like doodle one representing the card that exists, so you don't have to go out buying it, and there you go. Like, some officially sanctioned tournaments operate that way, and they're pretty lax on that, and they know that it's just kind of how it gets the word spread. It's like the Costco hot dog, $1.50 since the inception, and he says, if you change these prices, I'm gonna kill you. Straight up. I forgot who it was that sent a samurai sword to Hollywood when they were trying to change their Japanese films. It's like, you touch it, you better not. That's it. Enjoy this
I
sword.
love that energy.
I think that just at some point, somebody's. You always have to be on the rise and on the watch for these little dudes to come out of nowhere, and they're fresh out of college, still got their baby teeth probably. Just going, look, this is how much money we're making.
Yeah, right out of college, all the
Yo,
baby teeth.
all the baby teeth still. This is how we can make more money. Yeah, because they don't have any life experiences. They don't know nothing. These guys are 14 years old, fresh out of college. I could increase your profits by 25%, and that's it. They don't know about love. They don't know about the world. They don't know nothing. Just money and numbers, and there's just no heart. There's nothing coming.
Yeah,
out
no heart, no consideration. Yeah, I feel you.
Awful stuff.
Like they just look at the bottom line as like, this number needs to be higher.
And I can make it higher.
Let me put my thinking cap on, and then you get this sort of backlash. But okay, so they had the backlash, and essentially they released a statement that kind of says, "Oh, we were just testing the." I'm paraphrasing very heavily here, but they're essentially saying like, we were just testing the waters. We were looking for the feedback. Should we do something like this? And you guys have let us know that we shouldn't do something like this. Therefore, we all win. Great, congrats, we did it, guys. That was kind of the energy. Again, paraphrasing. But
Hey,
like,
you want me to shoot you guys in the foot? No? Okay. All right. Just checking.
great, because I didn't really want to shoot you in the foot.
Yeah,
either,
I didn't want to
so-
shoot you in the foot. I was just making sure because he said you guys were gonna like it, but I was like, nah, I don't think so. So we just asking first. Like, no, bro. Like, you tried it. That's what happened. You tried it.
So my question is, does that kind of sully like D&D or Wizards of the Coast for you as a fan, like a longtime fan of using their rule sets, using their characters, monsters, whatever it is that you use from them. Does that kind of, as you guys who personally play the game, does that make you feel like, what, F D&D, I know what they're on, I'm gonna go play whatever that I've been eyeing for the last several years? Like, you're just gonna move on now. Like, do you feel like that's the kind of energy in the community? Like, chat, you guys can chime in as well, or is it more so it's like, all right, you better not, and then just go back to playing D&D?
Well, I mean, you definitely got to front, be like, you better not, and cancel, and then they're like, all right, fine, we won't, and that's all right, I'm coming back now. That's how I'm saying. It's not so much hollow words. I think it's just action demands action, right?
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
if they have some action, then all right, it's okay to go back. If the change you seek occurs because of your action, it's okay to go back. I think people find that to be hypocritical, right? But it's like, no, we got what we wanted, so it's okay.
Yeah,
It's safe
yeah.
to be here. But I was the poors that the community that Wizards of the Coast doesn't like. So I was already sort of bootlegging their stuff. This doesn't change anything for me.
Yeah. I use the Ivory Holder all the time. Damn. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, real talk though. I do like this question because I agree with Frost, right? At this point, there's a lot of people, I'll say it's even a familiarity thing. There's a lot of people who know the system. There's a lot of people who are familiar with the words, even though they don't know the system. From TikTok and memes and blah blah blah, but or just even your basic RPGs that have already taken from D&D. People are familiar with these terms, so it's easy to explain to somebody, hey, this is what Constitution means. Hey, this is what Strength means. Blah blah blah. However, there has been, and I feel like there's been an uptick on the popularization of other systems. There's some other systems coming up that look very wonderful, but just like any game that's complex, it takes time to sit down and read the rules and understand them, right? Look, I love those murder mystery games when you and like 10 friends sit in the living room and they're like, who done it kind of deal, right? But not everybody likes sitting down and listening to all the rules. Like, okay, well, if you're the detective, you can only talk to one person, but you got to close your eyes and blah, blah, blah. And, that's kind of the explanation you're gonna have to get into a new system to spite D&D. It's kind of like the switch has to be worth it for me at this point. Right now, it has. Are they some stank fools? Yeah, for sure. Is it gonna make me? The good thing is I'm not making the money right now, as far as I know. I'm not making the money. So, but I am gonna use what was already out there. It definitely fostered a culture, just like you said earlier, Frost, and just the gathering. It's just sad that they would try to exploit this gathering experience, because especially in the times that we're in now, I feel like we need games like this way more than we used to. And to try and cut in on that and monetize that is just, I think it's a little disgusting.
Yeah, and it's a weird time to attempt such a thing like that too, because just like you're saying, like, there's this real problem with inflation the world over. People don't have money. If a group of friends got lucky and are able to make a profit off of this fun thing that they were doing,
now you want to tax them?
Yeah, like you want to tax them, but also it's like, just like you mentioned earlier, Blue, D&D is like more popular than ever. Like, they have a movie with like A-list talent heading to theaters.
Started about that.
I mean, regardless of what you think, how you feel the movie's gonna go, like Wizard of the Coast is making money off of the fact that that's being done, like, right, and like, they're gonna get more market share. Like, if that movie does even moderately well, you'll probably get a new influx of a bunch of people who are like, oh, what is this D&D thing about? And maybe they'll actually go and buy the official book and start playing in official games with, like, as long as people are playing that game, Wizards of the Coast is winning, right?
Yeah.
And if it's staying in the public lexicon, they are winning. So it's like you're you're doing better, you're on an upper trajectory, and like what, you're just like sniffing your own farts to the point where you're like, all right, well now we can make all these a-holes pay us even more money. It's like, what are you doing?
It could just be like they like drama, you know what I mean? Like people like drama, so like, oh, let's just stir it up a little bit and just make people.
Like, oh no, we were just kidding, sorry.
Yeah, you know, because
we were just
it's
playing
very
around.
possible. It's very possible. People who didn't even think about all this are just like, oh, it's Wizard of the Coast. What are they doing? D&D, and they just bring it in to watch the movie now. You know, like I don't know. I'm just really grasping at straws on why they would be such a jerk. But you know, it is what it is, and it's somebody's job to make the money, and that was part of the plan.
Right.
Part of me wonders who to like, if it's not a necessary evil. So like Critical Role on their D&D thing, in order to have the Amazon Prime thing, they kind of had to like get all the legal stuff. Like you're not really allowed to make fan art for them anymore, even though that was kind of a big staple. But that's sort of the trade-off is like, don't make fan art. It's not me being mean to you. It's me preventing people from suing you. Kind of, you know, like you don't see that this is for your own good. I know it sounds mean. It doesn't work that way. I'm almost wondering if Wizards of the Coast was trying to do something like that, as maybe bigger studios are trying to dip into D&D, where it's like, you can't rip me off. Don't rip these guys off though. Like that's when you might get sued.
Yeah, there was a little nugget of apparently, like if they are going to start having adaptations made, for example, a movie.
Yeah.
And then some situations from the movie seem very similar to some smaller game that has its own thing, and then it's a situation where they're like, "Oh, you stole my idea. Like this is my campaign. Look, here's the proof that this is exactly what happened in my campaign." Like, yeah, that sort of thing. They did say it was like, okay, so this is to basically make sure that that sort of thing is covered.
Yep.
Because like, yeah, they're not looking at everyone's D&D campaigns for material. That's just not a thing they're doing.
It's impossible.
But they would need protection from those sort of claims, because you would definitely get those sort of claims.
Yeah.
So like that made sense
Man.
in that brief that they sent out. But in general, I don't know. I'm not a D&D guy, guys.
Especially with like Stranger Things, because they are using some D&D characters. If you use the Netflix ones, you can get sued by Netflix, not with Wizards of the Coast. So I wonder if this is like all just some really weird legal system that they kind of got themselves wrapped up into. Like Dead by Daylight had Stranger Things pass, but they had to revoke it because Netflix and some other garbage. So this might just them either you got some stank fools, as you said, trying to make more money, or you got someone trying to claim the IPs and the systems so that they can maintain the culture. Either way, it's a rough look all around. I just don't know why they don't use it to their advantage. So like a lot of open licenses basically are saying you guys can make money off of this, you can do whatever you want, but if I want to use your stuff that you make, I can for free. Like now you have so many people running so many campaigns. I'm like, I want to make a movie. That campaign was dope. I'm gonna rip them off. It's my system, you know. It's like little tit for tat. Why not?
Yeah. Yeah. But often, it's a whole Ouroboros thing, snake eating its own tail. Because like, a lot of players' campaigns are probably just ripping off stuff that they've seen. It's like, oh, my campaign is just based on James Cameron's Terminator.
I base my characters on Nicolas Cage movies.
Yeah. I've seen people with some crazy themes that are just fun. You know what I'm saying? But they're not always something that's, I guess, marketable or easily marketable, and that's the hard part.
For sure.
You know.
Real quick, I just want to point out, Fat Highlander in chat says, already switching my group to PF2E after Wizards of the Coast gutted Magic for money. They come for my D&D. I know they rescinded the OGL, but it's too late. Hasbro, who owns Wizards of the Coast, is so greedy. So they're getting some folks who are like, I'll forget them.
Yeah, I suppose, but that's kind of like, all right, so like the Unity thing, right? Thing is, Unity's got a massive community. If I get a weird bug in the Unity server as I'm trying to make my own game or whatever, I can Google, I can YouTube, and it's all there instead of going to Godot, who is like, I don't know if they're better, but I wouldn't be able to troubleshoot as well. If I have a problem in World of Warcraft, that's going to be a lot easier to figure out than like some fringe, even if it's a better MMORPG, just not nearly as popular. Popularity it's got its own form of currency. That's why a lot of people,
Yep.
as you said, will stay on D&D. I hear all the time Pathfinder is more fun. Even Critical
Yeah.
Role started on Pathfinder. They moved to 5e just to make it like a little more accessible, right?
Yeah. The
And that's
Pathfinder is
that's
fun.
like kind of what it is. It's like, well, there's more people to
I
talk
wonder
to.
how the
There's more
Pathfinder people
community.
feel about that.
I don't know.
Do they feel like betrayed? Like, cause
I don't know. It's almost like Dota versus League of Legends. League of Legends more accessible, more popular, but Dota is like these are the real tryhards. These are the real gamers. I'm sure they're not too concerned. They get to keep their depth. You know?
I just want to point out, Kat in the
Yeah, I
chat
can't
said my
stand
characters
her.
are based off of Medea movies.
They all Tyler
Cat goes
Perry.
back to jail. Diaries of Mad Black Woman.
They're all just Tyler Perry.
The family that prays. I hate her.
Oh,
My
God.
gosh. Get her out the chat.
All right, so so on that note,
Yeah.
we'll move on to our final topic.
Yeah.
Justin Roiland, half of the creative duo that created Rick and Morty, and the head of Squanch Games, who created the recently released High on Life. Rick and Morty, very popular adult cartoon series. High on Life, reviewing fairly well. Game Pass, first-person shooter. Apparently charged with domestic violence. I use the word charged because apparently he's pleading not guilty. They're going to be having a court case, all this stuff like that. So this is the court of public opinion. Like, we don't have the answers, Sway.
Yeah.
But there has been stuff starting to come out. Like I just scrolling through my timeline. Apparently an ex-writer of his posted some back and forth where he essentially was just saying like real just shitty stuff to her, like kind of unprovoked stuff that clearly he thought was funny, and like when you just read it, it's like, why would you say this to a coworker? You know what I mean?
But then you watch Rick and Morty and you're like, oh, you're sick.
But so that's that's what I want. That's the main thing I want to get into, right? Because a lot of this tone that's now being like this cloud that's hovering over Justin Roiland as a possible dirtbag is kind of leaching into people's perception of not necessarily Rick and Morty, but Rick and Morty fans. And it's like, okay. It's like, oh, of course this guy made that show. And of course you over here like that show because you're like that guy.
You're a douchebag.
And like that sort of energy is all over the place.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I was
Right?
like, oh, all right. Interesting.
Because I will fully admit that there are toxic fan bases. Like almost every single like fandom has like a just a big gooey toxic center. And Rick and Morty has particularly been in the media for having like really out of control super fans just like behaving very poorly in public places. But Justin Roiland's crimes, and this is my take here, Justin Roiland's crimes, whether he's found to be guilty or not guilty or whatever, his name is already sullied because he's kind of the lead, the Pied Piper of like a mass of fans who are very much disliked. Like there's a lot of people who like are really, really into Rick and Morty who are just generally disliked, and not even just on the internet because they show up in real life and do bad things.
It's
I
like
remember that.
it's like Matt Stone and Trey Parker, but they can't get away with stuff. You know what I mean? Like, you know how crazy they were back when South Park was first like getting popular. They're like doing the wildest stuff in public, but they didn't have the internet to propagate their craziness as well as it is today. I think they're Matt Stone and Trey Parker of the past, but there's too many cameras on them now and too many text screenshots on them now. That's how I feel, man.
Yeah, it's.
That's as well.
I'm sorry, Frost. Did you want to jump in?
I was just thinking, this is why you don't base your creative energy on alcohol. Like, just purely alcohol, bro.
Yep.
You get some weird things coming out of this. Does it paint it in a different light? Almost, kind of. As I was reading, like what was happening, what was like alleged or what happened or whatnot. I'm like, this reads like a Rick and Morty episode, and I go, oh,
Yep. Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. And I think that's kind of why I'm I hate to be that guy that's like, oh, I'm not surprised, right? But at the same time, it's just when you see what they write and the situations that they put together, your head's been there at one point, you know? And I know
That
with
is
these
very true.
guys, somebody had to dial some of them episodes back, and they're still outrageous. So just like I can imagine you say some wild stuff to your significant other. Um, and then I could imagine, beyond that. And not surprised.
And that's fair because, like you said, like this stuff has to come from somewhere. Like if you're writing a show that has a lot of these tendencies, like that, basically, I won't say glorifies because I think that's something that
That's
the
not true.
fan base does. Yeah, like the
you have
show
to be
itself
right.
does not glorify the toxicity of a lot of these relationships that
Yeah.
it depicts. It does not. That's just not true. But for someone to kind of know that sort of behavior and be able to write it so well, you wonder where does that information come from? Like, how are you so tied to that information? And I don't want to let the other co-creator of Rick and Morty kind of off the hook fully here because Dan Harmon, I'm a big fan of Dan Harmon as a writer.
He got some weird stuff.
He has some stuff in his past as well.
The baby
that was
thing?
also, yeah, there was the
Bruh.
more so than that, because like he had some real questionable comedy skits in his youth that flared up and like people were trying to cancel him over. Honestly, I feel like that stuff was in poor taste, but it wasn't like he didn't commit a crime. He just did a shitty skit. But
Should be a crime.
Yeah, it should
But
be a crime that way. I'm not gonna lie. But you're right. Technically, that's fine and say nothing because technically you're right.
I mean,
That
I'm
one
just
was
stating
disgusting.
facts here.
You're right. You're right.
It was a really bad skit. Like it was very bad, terrible skit. But he was implicated during the height of the Me Too movement.
Yeah.
Like one of his coworkers basically said that he did very inappropriate stuff, said inappropriate stuff to her, like tried to, come on to her as a boss and stuff like that. And during that situation, like as he was being accused, Dan Harmon owned up to those allegations. He apologized. He, in the midst of all that, like he kind of took responsibility and put it in her hands in terms of like what would be his fate, and she forgave him. Like it was one of the rare, which we really don't see enough of, but it was a rare instance where, okay, this was a bad situation, but it was resolved between those people and not like in the public. I mean, he told the story after the fact, which is why people know, but like she forgave him. Like she doesn't have ill will towards him as far as that situation occurred. And like he supposedly has become a better person afterwards. Like he is now more cognizant of that sort of behavior and whatnot after the fact. And isn't that what we want? Yes, you should definitely tell people when they have behaved badly, and people who behave badly should be punished. But at some point, human beings kind of need to be redeemed, because if you're just chopping off the legs of every single person in society who ever does a bad thing, it's like at some point you end up with a bunch of people who are just either perfect, like actually perfect, or are hiding some very big skeletons very well.
Yeah. So
like,
at what point do we let them off the hook? That's what you're asking, right?
Yeah.
Kind of. I mean, this is fresh here with Justin Roiland.
Yeah, no,
so like I'm not saying like he shouldn't have his day in, getting dragged or whatever. But situations like this happen all the time. In the situation that's in something bad comes out about a celebrity, and now everyone wants to dogpile. I think what we should start doing as society is to kind of mind our business a little bit and let that play out. Because as terrible as what he's being accused of is, it's kind of not our business.
I hear what you're saying.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm a fan of Rick and Morty, the show. Like, I wouldn't call myself a super fan, but like, I think the writing on the show is really good. I think the characterization of the characters and stuff is really good. Like, I think it's really smart in a lot of places, and I enjoy watching it. But that has nothing to do with how I feel about its creators. Like, I can admire Dan Harmon and Justin Roiland for being good at making this show, but that doesn't mean I automatically forgive them for being bad actors in real life. You know what I mean? Okay. But at the same time, I don't know those men. Like, I don't know anything about his life. So this news
Well,
report that says
you
he
know a
beat
little bit
his
about
wife.
his life.
Right.
Well, yeah, we know he's been
That's what I'm saying.
charged for beating his wife, right? So, because that's not my business, I'm gonna see how that plays out.
So
Does that make
using
sense?
a Kanye defense, bro?
Not again. You still ain't bootlegged this
Well,
shit.
Kanye didn't allegedly do anything, right? Kanye did
He
stuff,
did stuff.
right? And the stuff he did, we know for the most part is because he is not well. So, like, in that same vein, sure, I can't jump down the throat and be like, all right, well, this is not the Kanye I know, because I know it's not the Kanye I know. Like, that man is mentally unwell.
But you don't know him.
I don't know him, right?
Yeah.
The Kanye I know is through the music, right? I know the art that the man has made, and that's what I identify with. That's what I like. That's what I listen to and pay attention to.
Yeah.
The fact that he's out being a real dirtbag, like a real life dirtbag, to me, doesn't change how the music I've heard from him for several years has affected me, if that makes sense.
I think it depends on the degree. So, like, who was it? Dan Schneider? Whoever the Nickelodeon dude is? Like,
Rob Schneider.
Rob Schneider. There are a lot of Schneiders. No, Rob Schneider's the
No,
Adam
that's the
Sandler
actor.
guy.
Yes, Adam Sandler's like, okay, who's Dan Schneider?
Dan Schneider's like Nickelodeon director, old school.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, with like iCarly and all that. And you just hear more that he had this weird thing with, first off, like pedo vibes, and then feet as well.
And the feet,
Children's
yeah,
feet.
I heard about
So
that.
you're seeing, like, back in the day, Nickelodeon's logo was an orange foot. Yeah. He would have like Twitter, Instagram things where it's like, write iCarly's name, hashtag iCarly on the bottom of your foot, send in a picture, and we're gonna pick a winner. You know, like it's that kind of knowledge where I was like, maybe you're just not impacted enough. But now I couldn't really go back and watch some of that stuff and be like, oh, this is what's going on here. A lot of weird episodes with like strange feet things where back in the day you're kind of like, I guess that's just like as funny, as raunchy as humor can get when you're in middle school, right? It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
They ain't gonna be showing ass, they ain't gonna be like doing weird things with their colon. It's just like farts and feet. That's all it is. So now I'm just here like, I'm watching someone's just strange kinks.
Yeah,
It's a little awkward, you know.
that's how I felt about.
Well, yeah, when it's
Bumping Vine.
recontextualized like that, yeah.
So
That's
again,
how I feel about when I listen to R. Kelly music. I don't anymore, but you know, like when I'm listening to Pony or Bump and Grind, I'm just like, ew. Now that I know where he's at, you know what I'm saying?
yucky.
Like at a certain point in my life, though, I did identify with it as like a really sensual song. I'm like, yo, this is super nice, whatever. But now I'm just like, I hear the person who's singing this. And I feel like it's gonna be the same kind of effect when it comes to, and maybe it just hasn't hit you the same, Sig, but I feel like it's gonna be the same effect for me at least when it comes to all the squanch stuff that's going on. All
No,
Rick and Morty,
that is a good point. I will concede that when the content gets recontextualized in that way, that's a different story. Because a similar situation happened with what was the name of that? It was this foreign band that were revealed to be like Nazi sympathizers. Ace of Base.
Wow.
Yeah, all of Ace of Base's big hits apparently were like Nazi sympathizer songs, and like when you actually pay attention to the lyrics, it's like they're referring to like all this like white supremacy, Third Reich stuff in the actual lyrics to these very popular, super catchy pop songs. And that sort of thing definitely changes your relationship to the art.
What was it?
But does that make the person who liked the art retroactively, forgiving of those transgressions? Like I can't imagine why.
It's not something like that. It's just not even the metaphorical, but just the non-visual providing back into their pockets, essentially. Like this, watching Rick and Morty, all that stuff, we're still sort of like, we're supporting the show, we're supporting the creator. It's weird in that way where it's just like, you are not a Nazi sympathizer, but you are putting money into the hands of Nazis, you know, like that's where it comes back at it. But again, I'm just really weird with creative thoughts and creative energies. So like Bob's Burgers, different show, one of the characters was at January 6th. They
didn't know that.
threw him out. They're like, all right, we're not having
I
this.
did hear about
Recast him. Yeah, that's right. And I'm just like, all right, this kind of action I can get around with. And the show's like still kind of the same. Like, how do I feel about the older ones? Uh, Again, it almost comes with that context. I'm with you in that these scenarios are not black and white, right? I'm with you that
Exactly.
it's not
Yeah.
easy because a lot of it just comes down to context. Like,
Yeah.
if I had no context, I could still be I could be enjoying my stuff in my happy merry way. Now with the context, suddenly it's on me. If you continue to watch this, you are a pedo, you are a Nazi, you are a whatever, and it's just like that kind of burden on somebody out of the blue who's just watching cartoons. That's not where that discussion's to be had. You know,
Right. Yeah. It's like,
I get
and
that.
and this now springboards onto where I did want to actually take this final topic, which is J.K. Rowling and Hogwarts Legacy,
Yeah.
because that same situation is playing out all over the internet. And I know Twitter is fake. Twitter is very fake. It doesn't matter what people say on Twitter, but there is a lot of people on Twitter essentially drawing a line in the sand, saying that if you buy Hogwarts Legacy, essentially you're telling all of your trans friends that you don't support them.
I thought J.K. Rowling wasn't associated with this.
She's
You getting
not.
royalties.
Yeah, but she does get, like, she's not associated in any of the creative stuff. Like, she didn't like put
Royalties?
input into what's happening there, but like she owns the wizarding world, so she will make money off of it.
See,
So like there are people who are saying like, yeah, it'll put money in her pocket, which means you're supporting an anti-trans bigot who actively, puts efforts into damaging, trans people, which
Yeah.
I believe is true. Like J.K. Rowling is very vocal
oh yeah, for
about
sure.
her views and whatnot. But on the other hand, it's like, okay, well, these guys just really like Harry Potter, and they've been waiting for this Harry Potter video game for a long time. But like, is that a direct attack on trans people or trans people in their lives, or like, in the ether, because they really wanted to play a Harry Potter video game? Should this situation even be this dicey? Like, I feel like I honestly wonder how we got here.
I think everybody needs to make that decision in their own time.
Boom. There it is right there. I think once you have the knowledge about where your money's going and what your support means, that's on you to say, that's what I want to do.
That comes down to conscience or honor or whatever it is that you feel, right? So
Yeah.
like, if this stuff is true about Justin Roiland, I ain't gonna lose sleep over not watching Rick and Morty. I'm okay with that. Don't really care for Hogwarts Legacy, and it's just more so. I'm not gonna jump down somebody else's throat about it, especially if they don't want to have that kind of burden on it. It's just strange because I know the argument is, well, if you wanted to be super responsible and only buy safe things, you wouldn't buy anything ever. Right.
Exactly.
So
That's like the whole premise of the good place.
that's weird though, is that that shouldn't allow these kinds of things. As somebody who likes the creative arts, and I don't think America supports the creative arts enough, and for some reason, they try to detach the dollar from ideas and whatnot. I think ideas and money go hand in hand. So if I don't like their ideas, then I get my money, right? That's on me. I'm not gonna be like, all right, Casey, you love Kanye, so you hate Jews. That's just weird, right? Especially not right
it's a
now
weird
when we
line to
have
draw.
like 15 minutes left here. I'm gonna convert you right now. I know what J.K. Rowling's about. I know what she represents. I know what she's gonna do with that Hogwarts money. I don't feel in good spirits to be supporting that, so I'm not gonna. Also, let's be honest, I'm not gonna get on that high horse. I wasn't gonna buy it to begin with. So
I'm be honest.
that's another
I'm not a
thing.
huge Harry Potter fan. My wife is much bigger than I am. I saw this game. I was like, yeah, we can pick this up. And, learning more about it, I'm just like, I don't know if it's worth it. Like, morally. Yeah. So I've been
I'll
kind
be
of
saying, I'm not a
going
big
back
Harry
and forth.
Potter guy. I
But it did
personally
look
have
cool.
been. See, you feel that way. I've been saying I think this game looks ass.
Yeah, it's crazy. I've heard a lot of people agree with you too. But
Yeah, I know I'm in my own camp, but
I just don't
that game does not look interesting to me.
Yeah, I don't like the extremes really, where it's like
But
moral high
yeah,
ground
like,
people on the left, and on the right side, it's the ones that's like, well, you can't be responsible. Go ahead and buy whatever. It's like, no, there's somewhere in the middle where we got to have some responsibility and try to like find a way to. If you could get J.K. Rowling to be detached somehow from Hogwarts, all these people would buy it again, and that's it. Like that's not possible. That's not real. So the best thing they can do is withhold their money. Like I would like to be there to be a way to take ideas and make them. I don't know, of the people. That'd be weird. Some like take creative ideas and make it more common. That's why I just say bootlegger games.
And yeah, like the thing that muddies this so much, Dominic Womley points out, J.K. Rowling herself says she considers her continued revenue stream as proof most people agree with her.
And that's like what I'm not trying to do. You see what I'm saying?
That's trolling, is what that is, because clearly that's not true.
It's trying to take,
right? Yeah, she's essentially she's kicking more dirt on the people she's battling with. She's like, oh, look at how much money I still make. Doesn't that hurt your feelings? People whose feelings I keep hurting. Like, you know what I mean?
I think she should.
Like, that's not necessarily the truth.
Twitter ain't real, like you said.
Yeah, it's not real.
Yeah,
Twitter's not real.
These people are literally just like, oh, I love Harry Potter. What's a turf? Like they don't know any of these things. They are a Gryffindor, they are a Slytherin, they are a Hufflepuff, they are a Ravenclaw. They don't know nothing about like gender. They just know about Harry Potter houses. So they're not in a position to make a responsible choice, and she's taking it that way. It's like, yeah, look at all these people standing up for me and my
ideas. That's a majority of the people who I think are buying most big budget things, right? It's kind of just and I don't mean ignorant in a bad way, but just people who aren't tapped into that discourse around the stuff they like. They just like the stuff they like.
I'm with you now. I think I get you, where you are being responsible by saying the things I buy, the things I'm into, is because I am giving you a thumbs up to your creative decisions, but stop misconstruing my support of your creative decisions as your politics, your ideology, any
personal behaviors, blah blah blah.
I get you.
Those are two separate things. Like, if going back to Kanye as an example, like you write,
I wish you
write a like you write a whole album, produce a bunch of music that has nothing to do with these very strange anti-Semitic rhetoric that you've basically started to express in just the last couple of years, right? Mm-hmm. Like, people have been saying, like, oh, Kanye was at the company saying this, that, and the third, whatever. Was he saying that in Jesus Walks? was he saying that in Monster, in Runaway? Like,
that man
no. Yeah, he's like, the man is sick. Like, that's like, even removing that portion from this discussion, the fact that, like, he's known to be bipolar. He is known to have gone off his meds, as a lot of bipolar people tend to do, because they feel like it makes them feel like not them. But the man has a problem. And, like, when he's left in that state, this sort of thing happens where he's going on rants. He's not making a lot of sense. He's essentially his own worst enemy. And there's just no one around him to kind of reel that in or control him. Like, it's sad to me. Like, to me, that's very, very sad. Because, like, I really did look up to him as an artist. And I thought I could respect him as a person. That aspect, not really anymore, right? But who's to say how much of that is him or his condition? I don't know, because I don't know the man personally. What I do know is that a lot of that music that I grew up with means something specific to me that has nothing to do with what he's going through with his wife, what he's going through with the media and the Jewish community. All of that is an entirely different thing, which I do not condone. Like, I'm not saying because I like Jesus Walks, Kanye can do no wrong. Like, no, those two things aren't the same thing. And I feel like that argument can be made for anyone who is a fan of a work of art. Like, because even if you're a blatant racist, like friggin'
what
I keep wanting to say Edgar Allan Poe, but H.P. Lovecraft. Yeah, like, folks will use derivative versions of the stuff he created, cosmic horror, or like adapt stories that he's made, and then they'll give you the excuse like, well, he's dead now, so he doesn't make any money off of the fact that I do the thing.
So
that doesn't change the fact that you keep his legacy alive by engaging with that stuff. He didn't make it. Like, it's like you can't have your cake and eat it too, because people want to give credit where credit is due, right? They want creators to get recognition for the stuff that they create. But they want to shame people who do bad, and you should. They don't want to punish people who do bad, and you should. But do you punish people who do bad by divorcing them from their creations. Like, is it fair that J.K. Rowling never make another dime off of Harry Potter stuff, even though she created it, because she has these terrible views? Would it be nice if the money from those views didn't support the thing? Yes, but that's not the world we live in. It's way more complicated than that. Like, I mean, I'm not saying that you should act this way or you shouldn't act this way. I'm saying this is a mess.
Right.
Like, it's a tangled web, and there isn't a right answer, which is why we keep falling back on this. Look, it's a personal decision, but then that personal decision has, you know, the Twitter folks in a tizzy because everybody wants to control everybody, and you can't have it that way. I'm sorry, it sounds like a rant now.
I never heard of
kind of like what I mentioned earlier. That's like the premise of The Good Place, right?
Yes.
If we really had ethical spending, or if we really tallied up where we're putting our support, we'd all just be going to hell because somebody is exploiting somebody, no matter what you do, what you buy, what you consume. So in a way, I see what you're saying. It's almost unavoidable to support this crap, but I still agree with you know, what Frost and I were saying earlier. It has to be a personal choice, and you really have to weigh the scales yourself and see what you support and what you don't. You know, I'm not saying that buying this game is going to say that you're anti-trans, but I am saying that you have to know that there is going to be anti-trans action with your money. That's one thing you do have to know. You know what I'm saying? Not all of the $70 that you spend, maybe a couple pennies, but you got to know that it's going out that way. I'm just being honest. You know?
Yeah.
And it's like, and if you don't buy this thing and the next person does, like, does the same action get taken? Like, it's hard to know what your individual impact is on that sort of thing, and like that's why it's such a personal. Yeah, you won't know, right? Know. So it's
but the fact is, if
personal moral decision.
Nothing's going to happen anyway. So it's like it takes a bunch of individuals to take action for it to be significant. If we always just say, "Oh, the next person's going to do it anyway, so I might as well do it," then that doesn't help anything.
And is that the best possible action to even take? Who knows, right? What if someone was like, you know what, I love Harry Potter, I'm gonna buy this Harry Potter game, but what I'm gonna do after that is go attend a trans rally and support people in person. Like, does that even your scale? Like, who knows? Because like
that's why it's a personal scale,
right? Exactly.
That
like you can't
yourself.
Like,
and I don't think that's a bad idea. I'm not gonna lie, because you spend more money. You'll spend more pro-trans money at a rally than you would on anti-trans money in this game. So
he was like, okay, I'm going to absolve myself of this sin by donating
that's how you got to balance
this thing. Like, I don't know.
The scales, baby. You know what I mean?
Lamey says I'm describing carbon offsetting.
Yeah.
Spazowell says we don't always have to take the best action, but just some action. I think that's well said.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else to add on this topic before we close up shop? No parting words.
Was Harry Potter that good?
to me, not really.
But I will say I started liking the Magical Beasts.
Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them.
I like those way more than I like the first Harry Potter stuff.
I like me some monsters. Okay.
Yeah, it's probably because it's just updated. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But let me not just sit here and start bashing Harry Potter. Let's keep it going because
I think it's fine. I think Harry Potter is fine. I never got the super fandom of it. Like I never read the books. I think that's what most people tell me. Like when I tell them I think Harry Potter is fine, they're like, "Oh, you didn't read the books, did you?" I was like, "You're right, I didn't."
Yeah.
But okay, that's gonna do it. I'm sorry, Frost. You had something to add?
It was just a weird overall on the topic because I feel like it's gonna be something that we're gonna be experiencing over and over and over again. Like in games, you're purchasing everything, and anything can go back to somebody's political views, right? Like how you feel about the new Diablo 4, you scumbag. Like how do you feel about just about anything coming out these days? And it's what I dislike is the predators foisting responsibility on the innocents. So let's say me, my wife, and a kid, and I'm the worst husband ever. I'm abusing her, and I'm like, if you leave, you're ruining little Timmy's life.
Yeah.
He's gonna grow up without a mama, right? Like
Putting the blame on the
that
victim.
just makes me even more scumbag. But at some point or other, we the consumers, without thinking about it, because I'm sure nobody would. If every game came in with that thing that Assassin's Creed has, this was created by a bunch of people with diverse views and religious backgrounds. If that started off in Hogwarts, like this is created by an author who is anti-trans and etc., no one would have bought it. No, it's difficult to like retroactively do it now. I get it. Should your actions continue? I don't know. The topic in itself has almost become so heated, and that's kind of the point where now my wife is trying to make me stop drinking, but the topic makes me angry, and I gotta drink, and it's just like you gotta find a nice time and a place. I think it's a topic to be had. I think it's a topic that'll get somewhere eventually. Just right now, especially if it's being hosted on the Twitter sphere, it's not a topic that's gonna get anywhere.
That
Personally,
is very true.
I'm a callous man. There's nothing in my life that if somebody said like, "Oh, these guys are like anti-Mexican," I was like, "All right, I will drop." So what is it? Friggin', I will drop Assassin's Creed. I will drop Pac-Man. There's just nothing in my life where I'm like, no, I couldn't live without this. Finding out that they want to enslave Mexicans or anti-immigration or whatnot. Like, buy Daft Punk. I knew you will. It's just ain't nobody like that. But yeah, that's just where I go there.
No, I mean, fair. Like, I feel like there's gonna be this sort of weird moral moment for most people because like this sort of thing keeps happening.
Yeah.
Like whatever it is, that thing that is so closely tied to you, but is superficial in like the grander scheme of things. Like it's a superficial thing, but it means a lot to you as an individual. All of a sudden, it's tainted by some outside force that has really nothing to do with you or it. It's like at that point you make a moral decision. Like, all right, well, it feels icky now to me.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, so individuals then either decide which way they want to go. But like whatever they decide, like that's their decision. I feel like trying to jump down the throats of a bunch of randos who are not the aggressor. Like Justin Roiland has been charged with something wrong here. Right?
Yeah.
Let Justin Roiland have his day in court. Let things be decided there because that's his business. Like that's not our business. And for us to start pointing fingers at a bunch of other people because of this dude seems so far off the mark. Like, what are we doing?
The fan base is annoying. I don't think they're like all supporting domestic abuse. They are annoying. They had a different name back in the day. Big Bang Theory fans, Tool fans. Like anything that's even remotely semi-intellectual. You get those people who are like, "Oh, if you don't like it, it's because you're not smart." And it starts with that. If you don't like it, it's because this assumption I've made of you. It's because you're racist. You're not smart enough. You don't like reading, etc. Like assumptions on assumptions. We're fighting each other when it should be them making better choices. Shouldn't be my responsibility.
Yeah, like them being messy has now made a part of my life messy, and like that shouldn't be the case. Like why am I hearing a bunch of yelling in my ear because I like to wave a wand around? Like that, that's somebody else's situation. But I get it, personal responsibility, all that. There's no easy answer to this.
Exactly.
It's just a mess. It's a giant mess.
Lampy, what if you found out your electricity supplier was stealing children and all your power came from running on a wheel, Frost? Steal better kids. My power went out like 3 weeks ago. But no, that's when I'm like, all right, I gotta do something. I'll be like, yo, leave them kids alone. Y'all got some problems. You have to like actively make use of it. There's too much. It's a moral bog, right?
It's a minefield.
That one little comic of like, man, society sucks. Oh, but you live in society. You a hypocrite. You are this. You are that. It's just too many assumptions. People who are trying to do right things, go ahead, keep on trying to do right things. Stop making it so much about like moral fronting and just do good.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying.
Thank you. Yeah, the whole high horseness of it all. And the judging of what, like, the second I see somebody try and claim that another person is a bad person for something, like in my brain, that scenario flips. Like, no, you're the bad person. Why are you attacking this rando? Like, leave them alone. Like that's the vibe I get.
Yeah, it's
like do as best as you can in your life for the rest of the people around you. Like that's the best advice I can give in a situation like this. Like if you're actively trying to better the world, that does not involve attacking people regardless of what it is they're doing. You can comment on it, sure. You can denounce it, sure. But like this, like don't label, don't attack people. Like we need a lot less of that in general.
Oh yeah.
But we'll go ahead and wrap things up. Thanks everybody so much for joining us for this conversation. Blue, what do you have coming up that folks can check out?
Ooh, well, I haven't had anything for a long time, and that's still the case right now.
Okay, yeah,
Like consistent.
all cool.
But it's kind of funny connecting to one of the topics that we talked about today, and I've mentioned this to you a couple times before and in the open party, but I will be running some D&D games. That's going to be part of a whole series, a whole saga. It's a whole universe. The whole story's almost finished. The groundwork's almost done. So I'm going to start recruiting some people from the open party. So make sure you guys are in the Discord if you're interested in some people talk RPGs. Your boy's going to run some DM stuff. All right. But yeah, just hit me up in the open party. I'm Blue Bones BLUB0NES. You see it up in the tag. I think it's that way.
It should be.
No, yeah, it's that way. It's right there.
Yeah, there you go.
And yeah, that's me.
Nice. Blue, if you can like pop the Discord link in the chat for anyone who's interested.
I can do that.
And Frost, thank you for joining me once again. Where can folks find you? What do you have coming up?
Absolutely. Just keep your eye out on my escapist stuff. Outside of that, doctor's orders. I got to take it easy, so I'm refitting a chill out schedule and then interspersing work wherever. So streams, I wouldn't say they're going to be inconsistent. I'm just in the midst of replanning them all, reorganizing. So to keep track of that, Twitter, if you care for that, I guess. Otherwise, you'll be just scrolling one night.
Follow us on Twitter. Don't follow whatever else is going on.
Yeah. Our 3 accounts and then a bunch of like puppies and food accounts. So that's all y'all need.
There you go.
But then one day they get sold off and they become porn accounts, and you got to unfollow them.
No.
And
Well,
way to
not
do
that,
it.
not that
I
bad.
won't do
baby.
that from my account. That's all I'm saying. So yeah, that's
It's only inevitable for mine. But yeah, thanks so much. You can find me at SigmaGears9 here on Twitch as well as Twitter. Like I mentioned earlier, I have a review up on the Escapist for Vengeful Guardian Moonrider. Check that out. The second to last episode for Adventurers 9 just hit yesterday for everyone. That show has gone to some crazy places. We were talking about D&D. I never even brought it up, but I just remembered I'm on a freaking D&D show. Watch that episode. Watch the whole season. God damn. If you're not caught up, man, you are missing out. It's such a great story that's being told in that show, and it's so much fun to do. What else? Just tune into the Escapist. Bunch of fun streams going on. Get Jesse to the Greek, where we play God of War and teach Jesse about Greek mythology because he doesn't know any of it because he was homeschooled, etc. Metal Gear Rising Revengeance we're going through with Marty. That's been a lot of fun. That game is so over the top. I love it. We had played board games last night. Come on, guys. Just head over to Escapist if you're not there already. It's a good time. Join the Open Party Discord and join me later today for Super Smash Sunday over on the Open Party channel at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I don't think Jeff will be joining me. So I might be solo. I'll see if I can grab someone else to co-stream with me. But we'll see. But thanks. Thanks to my 2 guests. Thanks to everyone in chat. Much appreciated. Love doing this. We'll see you all next week. Peace.